Hello and welcome to Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul, my co-host Justin Baker joining me as we are diving into, can you believe it, the 2023-24 mid-season awards. This is our sixth award show mid-season. Welcome in. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Mark.
You know what? Just before we get into any hockey, how is it being a dad? You're a good solid 1.5 months in now, right? 6 weeks? Are we almost at the 6 week point?
Yeah, this Sunday, or actually, no, today is the 6 week mark.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
6 week. How are things going?
It's been great, man.
You sound chipper. You sound chipper than most people with a 6 week old child.
Yeah, thank you. He's actually been sleeping a little bit more than normal. We've been going usually like 3.5, 4 hours between feedings, which has been great. But I'll tell you what, crack helps.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel too. I mean, it's a great way to kind of circumvent all those things that happen now. Maybe we can talk about putting you onto the the Overtime Hockey Talk rehab later. I don't know if the money will be in the budget, but we can scrape. We'll find it.
I appreciate that.
All right, like we said, we're going to do the mid-season awards, and I just want to tell you this one thing. I never thought to do this. When I open I use Google Drive or Google Docs to write out all my show notes, and when I went in to write everything, a little prompt popped up that was like, "Hey, do you want some writing suggestions?" And I was like, "Actually, could you put in bullet points all the major awards in the NHL for me?" And right there, I was like, "Yes, this is great." I loved it. It was very quick and easy, and so yeah, you can do that on Google Docs. So next time you know there's some kind of list, or it was a nice option to have. I mean, I didn't ask for suggestions for players. Actually, I did try once. I said, what position was it for? It was for the not Lester B. Pearson, sorry. William M. Jennings, where it really comes down to like who let in the least amount of goals. I was like, well, I'm gonna ask AI who would win the trophy right now if it were awarded today. So I did, and it was like, it spit out something that was completely wrong. It was like the Toronto Maple Leafs currently lead the league defensively, allowing only 112 goals. And I was like, all right, well, first off, the league leader in goals against is Winnipeg with 94. The Leafs have allowed like 120 something goals. So it was just completely off. It was bad. So, because I thought, I wonder if you could ask AI some really, the like kind of statistician questions where mid-game they're like, this is the first time in NHL history that two players have taken 6 shots from this location in 3 minutes. Like those super obscure stats. And I thought, well, maybe I'll ask it a stats question, and maybe it can get deeper into stats. Well, it couldn't even answer that incredibly simple question. So I'm out on AI for sports stats.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, bummer. Okay, well let's start our trophies here. I know it's halfway point. There are a few that are just kind of like predetermined in a way. Like the Maurice Rocket Richard, Art Ross Trophy, although I tried to throw a little bit of something in there. But what are you looking at in the first half that makes you award this trophy? Like, are you trying to project a little bit, like this is the guy that's going to win this trophy in the end, or is this just purely, here's your first half, congratulations, and you might have a garbage second half, but you still get the first half award?
Yeah, just basically for all these awards, obviously minus the the Rocket Richard and the those type of awards where they're just determined based on statistical points.
Right.
I basically just took the first 40, 41 games and said, you know what, these are the people who who, based upon their play during that time, that's who I would pick for the award if the season ended today. However, you're right. If they, they could have a garbage. There's a couple of guys on here actually where I wouldn't be surprised if they had garbage second halves and wouldn't even, mention their name, for the awards come end of the year.
Okay. All right. Well, Leah, and if that's the case, I mean, that we can get into that while we talk through this, but let's start off with the couple of easy ones, the ones that are relatively predetermined. Art Ross Trophy, Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy. We'll just talk those and maybe who we think will ultimately win it as well, and then we'll get on to other awards. Let's just start with the Art Ross Trophy, because you've got Kucherov, McKinnon. They're both tied with 67 points. Do you tip your hand one way or another between the two?
Yeah, I think honestly, just by the way I've seen these teams play and watching them, to me, Colorado is the more dangerous team right now, and I think they're probably going to have more success as the season continues. Tampa Bay is they've had some struggles 5-on-5, and I think a lot of, Kucherov, a lot of his success is going to come on the power play, and we may see, I mean, I hate to say it, but we may see some players move on this team, like a Steven Stamkos, right? So that very well could affect, where he finishes end of the year.
Yeah.
Now, there's other guys on this list. I mean, granted, there's a 10-point gap between second and third, but Connor McDavid could easily, climb back into this race without blinking an eye. I mean, this guy is more than capable the way they've gone since, making that coaching change. But,
it was funny. We said that, I think, on our last show. We said, he could very well win this award. And I said, yeah, I mean, all it takes is for him to have like 3 or 4 5-point nights in like a relatively short span. And that night he had 5 points. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that he still wins this award. Like, those two, Kucherov and McKinnon, they should feel him breathing down their necks right now, because 12 points is a very small gap for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, I think just looking at the way it's gone so far, I want to put my money on Big Mac, the Mac attack, Nathan McKinnon here. For me, I just look at, again, I don't think – I don't have a lot of faith in, Edmonton having, long-term success. The teams they have to jump, and I think, eventually teams are going to buckle down. It's going to get a little tougher for McDavid, and not to say that he's not going to have success. I mean, I think he's going to eclipse 100 points, no problem this season. But, for me, I think just what I've watched Nathan McKinnon do, again, the lack of depth as far as like that second-line center and, third and fourth line scoring that they're not getting. To me, just watching him go out every night, and I think right now he's got, what is it, a 30-game home streak, point streak going right now.
Wow.
Which is third behind, I think, Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky all time, and I think Wayne Gretzky's was an 83-84 when he literally had a point in every single home game during the season when they only played 80 games. Right.
And yeah, I think that was the same year that he had like, what is it, 50-something games in a row with a point?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I went the other way with this. I actually think that Kucherov may be more likely to win because his team has been really lacking a lot of depth, really relying on the power play. He's still playing okay 5-on-5, but he's scoring more goals. So Kucherov is doing a little bit more on his own, scoring those goals. And I don't know. I think that maybe if Tampa Bay just kind of starts to, I don't think they're going to fall off the map. I think they're going to be in a dogfight here through the last 40 games. Like, I think that they're going to be right around where they are this whole time. They're going to be within a point or two of the playoffs. And that is a much different place to be than where Colorado is, where you're like, we're battling for first. I mean, not out of the realm of possibility that a guy like McKinnon could, doesn't need to play balls to the walls every night, and nor should he, because they can win a Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay's not winning a Stanley Cup, although Tampa Bay, really all they have to do is get in, and Vasilevsky could do the rest. But Kucherov may have a better chance of winning this because, I mean, first off, he's just been on fire, lights out all year long, and it's not as if he hasn't done this before. He did this in 18-19. I know it's 5 years ago now, but He did it 5 years ago, and he's always been a capable point producer. And I think given their lack of depth, he's just being relied upon so much heavier, and he's being put into tons of situations where he can score. And I think that might be to his advantage over McKinnon, where McKinnon, there might be some sheltering. If they kind of get into a position where it's like, we're rolling here, we're in first, you might see McKinnon, maybe his minutes lessen a little bit as they go down the stretch, and Kucherov's might go up even higher.
Yeah, which is weird you say that, because I look at his time on ice. He's been averaging per game. He's almost 2 minutes more than he has been last year. And, prior to that, he never had over 20 minutes a game ever in a season. And so, this is definitely, with this kind of pace and time he's going to get on the ice, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah,
21 minutes and 52 seconds a game. That's nice. But you know what? The other thing is he's shooting right around where he normally shoots. He's a career 14.6% shooter. He had a little bit of a down year last year at 11.1%, but he's at 15.6%. He's had, like, the last 3 years prior to 22-23, he was shooting over 15.5% every year. So he really is tracking where he normally does. Which bodes really well looking out to the rest of the year. I mean, I think this is probably going to be the first time that Kucherov scores 50 goals, which is crazy. Well, what was it? 18-19, he won the Art Ross with 128 points. He had 41 goals. And I think, it was 19-20. Was 19-20 when he got off to that, like, he had 20 goals in 20 games or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
That was that year. He only ended up with 33. I mean, granted, 14 games lost to the COVID stuff, but he wasn't going to hit 50 that year either. I think it's likely he hits 50 this year.
Wow.
So his first ever 50 goal score, or 50 goal season, which would be pretty awesome. A nice like, not that his career's over, but like a nice cap in his career to hit that 50 goal mark, because he really is. Would you say Kucherov is maybe the most underrated Art Ross Trophy winner of his generation?
Oh, I mean, there's an argument to be made for it, because he's played on teams that have been so stacked, right? Where
he played on really good teams,
yeah. And a lot of times when you have these Art Trophy winners, they're really on teams that they don't have a lot of support, right? Or they don't have like 3 or 4 guys on the team that are putting up
McDavid.
Yeah, right.
Draisaitl, McDavid.
Right.
McDavid.
Two guys. Yeah, you've got 2 guys literally in Edmonton, right, that do all the heavy lifting. Whereas in, like, Tampa, you've got Kucherov, you've got Braden Point, you've got Steven Stamkos, you've got Hedman, you've got a load of talent in there. So for him to come in and be able to do that, he kind of didn't get the attention, I think, really, that he deserved because of all the other star power on his team.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you look back though. If you look back over the last what year is his first year in the NHL, like 2013 or something for Kucherov, somewhere in there?
Oh, 13-14.
13-14, yeah. So I mean, since 13-14, I mean, maybe the only other guy that you could point to as being an incredibly underrated player would be Martin St. Louis, who won it in 2013, which actually I think that's for the previous season. So no, since coming into the league, I mean, this is almost like that Gretzky effect too, like Gretzky plays and no one else won an award because Gretzky won them all. But since coming into the league, I mean, only outside of Draisaitl, Kucherov, you've got Kane, Benn, and Crosby have won the Art Ross, which, I mean, Crosby and Benn didn't have a chance, or they had a chance because McDavid wasn't even playing at that point, and Kane won in McDavid's rookie year where he got hurt. So McDavid wins his second year in the league, third year, and then takes a little break and then wins 21, 22, 23. So there really hasn't been much opportunity for other people to win this award, but it would be a nice feather in his cap to win this one again, be the only person to really win it twice. Like the people who have won this award twice, I mean, it's McDavid, it's Crosby, and I don't think there. And Martin St. Louis, Malkin won it in 9 and 12. So really few guys have won this award twice in this century, really in this century. Yeah. Unless, I mean, you could say Jaromir Jagr because he won it in 99, 2000, 2001, so, and 98. Gosh, Jagr won it 4 years in a row. Oh boy. Okay. Sorry, we have gone. I should say because I feel like I've dragged us down into this conversation, but we will continue on. Let's go to the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy. Right now, Austin Matthews leading with 31 goals. If he had 81 goals, then we're having a whole different conversation. Do you think anybody can overtake Matthews at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely the favorite to win, but I just kind of like sometimes rooting for a dark horse or an underdog kind of story. So for me, I want to give my vote to Sam Reinhart right now. Just because he's in a contract year, this is the perfect time for him to come out and win an award like this, because, even if he finishes towards the top of the league or even close with the goal scoring rate, he's not going to get any major accolades. So for him to be able to get one in a contract year where he can basically negotiate just a huge dollar figure, because he's shown that he has such great chemistry right now with Barkov, and after losing Anthony Duclair, they shipped him off to San Jose for cap reasons. This would be a nice way for him to, solidify a good deal, and for Florida to continue to say, hey, you know what, we found something that works, so that we don't have to rely on Tkachuk all the time. So for me, I just want to see Sam Reinhart win it, although I do think in my heart of hearts, my brain is telling me that Matthews is going to win this one. Yeah,
you know what it is with Matthews is that Matthews can – it can seem like, well, I mean, he's only 2 goals up on Reinhart, and then Matthews goes and gets another hat trick. So that's the thing. Like, he is not the goal scorer who Reinhart is much more the guy who he's going to get a goal here and a goal here and a goal here, and he's going to score them. Maybe have a 2-goal game here and there, but he's not necessarily a threat for 3 goals on a regular basis. And there are, maybe 3 or 4 players in the league that are truly a threat to score 3 goals on like any given night on a regular basis. I think that probably I would put David Pastrnak in that. And then I would probably, I'd put Connor McDavid in that. Those are probably the 3 players that I'd say, those guys could score a hat trick on any given night. But for the most part, that's just not, if you get a hat trick, it's like once a year. Whereas those guys, I think they have the potential to score several hat tricks. So I think Matthews only being 2 goals up right now on Reinhart. I don't know if I see Reinhart continuing the same pace all throughout the rest of the year. Maybe more likely that a Kucherov, who's just scoring an outrageous amount of goals in the power play, that can help him. But yeah, I don't know if I see Reinhart already at 14 power play goals. 16 is his career high, so he's on pace for about almost 30 power play goals. Which will teams start to really focus in on him on the power play? That certainly could happen too. I got to go Matthews on this one though.
I don't blame you.
31 goals and is just. He's just been explosive. I think that some of it's sort of the Kucherov effect, what I talked about earlier about not having the same amount of depth, and so he maybe has more pressure or is being put into more situations to score goals because there isn't a whole lot happening with the rest of the team. I think that's been the case thus far for the Leafs, that they've been needing to rely more heavily on him for goals. He only has 15 assists. He's trying to do the Rick Nash. Lead the league and have like four assists. I only passed the puck 9 times all year. All right. Okay.
Oh goodness.
I'm gonna leave the next award up to you. Where do you want to go? I assume we'll leave the Hart and Lindsay for last, but
yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's dive into the Vezina, because that's my award. Right?
All right. That's your award. My grandfather was George Vezina.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
All right. Well, I mean, do you have one person that you're like, yep, this person won this award, or are we looking at a few guys? Yeah,
because I'm only looking at the first 40, games of the season or whatever. I didn't pick multiples for any of these awards, although I will say there are some where you could easily, make an argument for a few guys, but I think this one is almost clear cut as it can get. And for me, it's Connor Hellebuyck.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. I think the way, Winnipeg's playing right now is great team defense, but it's also led because of the goaltending. I mean, a .923 save percentage, and Winnipeg has gone, and I don't know exactly how many games of these Connor Hellebuyck has been in net for, but they've gone 30 straight games allowing 3 or less goals a game. And in a league where you're averaging over 6 goals total between both teams a game, to be able to keep 10 to 3 and under, you're essentially almost guaranteeing a win every night if you can put in a couple goals. I mean, that's just incredible. And he's doing it with essentially the same defense and forward group minus, Kyle Connor this year. So that's just been phenomenal right now to see him turn it around. I don't want to say turn around because I never thought he actually, dipped that badly. But he's just proving again why I think he's one of the top 3 goaltenders in this league.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Connor Hellebuyck. It was a very easy choice. I will say I'll give it to the Jets as well, because Laurent Brossoit, in the games that he's gotten into, he's played really well too. His save percentage is very similar. They've all played well, and that definitely speaks to the team defense. I think it speaks to the system that they have that Rick Bowness has implemented. It took them last year. Rick Bowness comes in, they make the playoffs, not unexpectedly make the playoffs, but I think that we were all starting to go, okay, well, the Jets seem like they're on this trajectory down. They squeaked into the playoffs. I think we were, you could tell that something was going on in the locker room. And then you come to this year and you go, I mean, is Scheifele going to leave? Is Hellebuyck going to leave? Is this team going to look super different next year? And here they go, leading the league in points right now. The favorites for the President's Trophy are one of, and it largely lies because of Connor Hellebuyck and how consistent he is. And you can put him out there on any night. You could go back-to-back nights if you needed to, but fortunately you don't have to. You've got Brossoit, but I think his confidence and how well he's been playing this season has opened up so many options for the Jets that, it's just a no-brainer to give him that Vezina Trophy, because this team is not supposed to be this good. I don't. Does it surprise you that the Jets are in a playoff spot?
No, it doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that they're number 1 in the NHL right now.
Right, absolutely. I think we thought, they could, if Hellebuyck and Scheifele were to stick around, this is still a borderline playoff team. And Rick Bowness went, oh, no, you thought that what I did in Dallas was just because of the players? No, I know how to do this. Rick Bowness is proving that he can take a team and, I think he's somebody who's asking some pretty hard questions, and Blake Wheeler out and a lot of the previous leadership, things mixed around. But then you look at what he's done with Scheifele and Hellebuyck, who both maybe had one foot out the door, and he's managed to really do something special here, keep them around, and now things are going really well. And things are going really well for a guy like Scheifele as well. So, this Vezina Trophy, it's almost like it's a trophy for Hellebuyck, but it's also you got to give a little tip of the cap to the Jets and to their coaching staff, because I don't know that we're here talking about Hellebuyck even being a Jet if it weren't for something different happening in the organization that wasn't happening before.
Yeah.
Who wants to live in Winnipeg anyways?
Good point.
It's, I'm sure there's lots of people that say, Winnipeg's nice. Well, sure. But given the choice between many other locations to live, if you don't have family there, you have no ties, who is going, let me just look at the map. Let me look at and weigh all my options. Yes, Winnipeg is the place I want to go. It's just probably not going to be too high on a lot of people's list. It's not that Winnipeg, I'm sure that it has nice things about it, but there's a lot of really nice places that you could live with NHL teams, and Hellebuck had the option to go to them. So did Scheifele, and they chose Winnipeg. So definitely, to me, says something about what's going on there, and they're obviously being rewarded for it. Should we do the William M. Jennings, since it's sort of the same? I think
go for it.
William M. Jennings is also the Jets. And Connor Hellebuck, because they have the fewest goals allowed so far at 94. Who saw the Jets with the best defense in the NHL too, on top of tops in the league? It's almost like the Islanders a little bit. Remember when the Islanders went from kind of being this garbage defensive team and Barry Trotz came in and it was like, what did you just do to this team?
Yeah, the Islanders right now, man, they're 21st as far as goals against per game right now, so they're not playing so hot as far as team defense is concerned.
Yeah. I guess the Jets were, where were they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in the league last year in goals against. So a slow build, but they're really there. They're playing some great team defense. All right, your pick, next trophy. Where you want to go?
Yeah, let's just make it easy so we can get this one out of the way quick. But the Jack Adams, I've got Rick Bowness. We've kind of talked about him already.
All right. Yeah. Kind of goes along with everything we just said.
Yeah, I could easily make an argument. I wanted to pick Torts for this one, but I just thought, again, when I look back at 3 goals or less for 30 straight games, a team that we thought might make the playoffs, and they've managed to keep everybody around and really turn this team into something completely, I don't want to say completely different, but revamp things a little bit on the fly with the same personnel, to me has just been fantastic. And they're doing all this, again, winning top of the league without Kyle Connor too. Yeah.
This is the only award that I really had multiple people for, because yes, Rick Bowness is one of the guys on this list, and so is John Tortorella. Obviously, both have done the unexpected with their team, right? Like the Jets were a middling team and they're first place in the league here at the halfway point. That's pretty impressive. The Flyers were supposed to finish last in the Metropolitan Division, and here they are third in the Metro, and really they aren't going away. It seemed like there for a second that they might start to slip, and then they kind of found themselves again and started winning. They've been kind of on a little bit of a dip right now, but they're playing fine. Like they're moving along right now, and who are the teams that could catch them, right? Like you look at the Islanders, they're 2 points back. The Devils are 4 points back, and they've got a bunch of injuries. The Capitals are 4 points back. I know they've got 3 games in hand, but the Flyers are still in a decent spot here. But that's probably the one where you go, all right, let's say the Jets don't finish first in the NHL, and they make the playoffs. They still have a really nice regular season. Maybe they win the Central or come second. I think he's still in strong consideration for that award. John Tortorella, if the Flyers miss the playoffs, he's not considered for this award. So that is where I guess I kind of lean towards Bonus. I also have Rick Tocchet, because Vancouver's been unexpectedly fantastic. And,
for sure.
And then a white horse here, the dark horse, not the white horse. The dark horse is Chris Knobloch.
Ooh.
He came in. The Oilers were last place in the NHL. Right now, they're in the second wild card spot. They're 4 points back of the Los Angeles Kings. They've won 8 in a row right now, and the Edmonton Oilers look like the Edmonton Oilers. I think we're all in the spot where we go, well, they're definitely making the playoffs now. Like, I don't know how you look at what the Oilers have done and go, no, they're going to miss the playoffs. I think they're, barring some major injuries, they're going to be in the playoffs. And what he's done, the turnaround and the amount of points they had to make up that they've already made up is pretty impressive. So I'd say he's probably not going to win it because he hasn't been their coach all year, but still, he should be mentioned.
It's a nice tip of the cap. I'll give you that.
Nice tip of the cap. Should we go Rookie of the Year, Calder Trophy?
Yeah, let's.
Who do you have? I'm going to be surprised if you have anybody but one man.
Yeah, I think this was an easy one for the first half of the season, although now it might be a little bit interesting going the rest of the way, right? But he is out 6 to 8 weeks, in case you haven't heard. But for me, it's Connor Bedard.
Yeah. Has to be for the first half for sure.
Yep.
Here's a better question, because I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. Like, if he hadn't gotten hurt by the end of the year, he's at 33 points in 39 games. End of the year, you're looking at probably 60 or 70 points. He's only getting better. He's only getting more comfortable. We'll see what this injury does to him. Out 6 to 8 weeks, and then also rehabbing an injury in the middle of a season. It can be hard, especially for an 18, 19-year-old kid. Although at the same time, when you're 18 and 19 years old and you get injured, your body just heals insanely fast and you're right back to it. If somebody were to overtake Connor Bedard, well, let's just say worst case scenario, it takes him 8 weeks. He misses like 20, 25 games. And someone else plays 82 and they have a really good season. And it's kind of that like Connor McDavid in his rookie season, where you're like, man, Connor McDavid was the best rookie when he was playing, but someone else had a better rookie year because he didn't get hurt. Who is the guy that you would be willing to give the Calder Trophy to over Connor Bedard?
Okay, so I've got two different guys I've looked at and thought about this one a little bit.
You knew it was coming. I didn't even tell you.
I knew it was coming. Perfect. Exactly. One is Luke Hughes. Just because of the offensive production I think you're going to get out of this guy. He's a second line defender on for the New Jersey Devils, and he's averaging about 20 minutes a game, which is pretty good for a rookie, right, to get 20 minutes a game. But right now he leads essentially all rookies in power play points. I don't see him slowing down at any point, and if Jack Hughes can find a way to stay healthy for the rest of the year, it's only going to help his totals go up. But the other player that I have on here who could be kind of a little bit of a dark horse is Connor Zary out of Calgary. 31 games right now, 21 points. He kind of came in, 10 games into the season. Calgary was struggling, so they needed a little bit of a boost. They're bringing this kid from the AHL, and he has just kind of lit it up, found chemistry with Nazem Kadri. And so, if they can continue that, and I think they're trending upwards a little bit. Now, I don't think Calgary's going to make the playoffs, and this might be, a moot point. You don't really need to make the playoffs to win the Calder.
I don't think you don't. No.
Yeah, but I think his production that he's given them, being, kind of thrust into a situation where it's like, okay, we're trying to make the playoffs, so we need you to go out and produce, whereas Connor Bedard is in a situation where it's like, hey, you know what? We're not making the playoffs, so just go out there and have fun and just rack up points, right? Do whatever you want to do. So Connor Zary kind of has to play well on both sides of the puck, which he's done very, very well, and accumulating these points basically at a much better pace than Luke Hughes has, and he's only
really not playing on the power play at all either.
No,
whereas
not
Luke
at all.
Hughes is getting a good amount of power play time.
Yeah, he is their top power play guy. So,
yeah, yes, if he ends up being the second scorer or something, which I don't know, I guess that's between, he could very easily end up in that second scorer spot. Right now, Marco Rossi, 40 games is 24 points, which certainly you like to see. Like, he's having a really nice rookie season, and I'm sure that Wild fans are like breathing a sigh of relief that he's actually decent. He's good enough now to play in the NHL, because I think we've been hearing Marco Rossi's name for the last few years, and it's been a little bit disappointing that he hasn't been able to make the show. He finally does, and he's playing really well. And is Adam Fantilli, like, are we going, well, I mean, you're on such a shit team that, like, almost what you do is, I know Bedard's on a really bad team, but it's just Bedard. I don't know. Like, Fantilli, certainly 24 points in 42 games, he could kind of find himself here, and maybe, maybe Johnny Gaudreau plays better in the second half than he did in the first, which it appears to be the case. He has been playing better as of late. Does Fantilli stand any chance of kind of climbing that ladder for you? Or does it need to be a defenseman that wins this over Bedard? Like, to me, that's kind of the only way it's going to happen, is if it's a defenseman.
Well, I think it really all depends on, what kind of Connor Bedard we get when he comes back, right? I mean, suffering an injury like this, right, where Brendan Smith just ran him over, he might be a little hesitant. So, to just kind of, bowl his way in to between defenders and try to make a sweet play. So we'll see how that plays out. But, Adam Fantilli, I'm not going to count out at all. I still think he's an all-world talent. He's going to be a star in this league. And he's got enough talent up front on that top line with Johnny Gaudreau and who knows, maybe Patrick Laine comes back and, they kind of mesh well. So, yeah, I mean, he very well could, just turn it on out of nowhere. I mean, he's got the talent around him to do so. Now, of course, he's in Columbus, so he's not going to get the W's that, a guy like Luke Hughes might. But, again, I think with guys like Connor Bedard and Fantilli here, it doesn't really matter anymore. They just want to see guys go out there, produce, and be flashy, really.
All right, I've got one more name in this the Calder Trophy conversation. We have not talked about any goaltenders. And, well, I like Peter Kochetkov. I think at the end of last year we thought, well, there'd be a chance if he becomes Carolina's starter and Carolina has a great year, he could definitely be in this conversation. He's had a very average to under average season this year. I think it's more to do with the Carolina Hurricanes than anything. I don't know that I see his name on this list. Samuel Urson having like an okay, like wins wise, say 10-5-3 is great. I wonder if by the end of the year, if that's changed because Philadelphia maybe drops a little in the standings, and then you go, well, we got to trade some guys, and then maybe they do their tanking there towards the end of the year and drop through the standings. But one guy who is just starting to get healthy again, who's playing for a pretty damn good team that has gotten very bad goaltending, but when Joseph Woll is in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs, a .916 save percentage, if say down the stretch he plays another, how many games as a goaltender do you need to play in to be considered for the Calder? Like 30, 35, something like that? Because, I mean Ben Bishop won the Vezina playing less than 40 games. So...
Yeah, I think for a guy like Joseph Woll, one, he's going to have to be clearly defined as the number one on that team, right? If you're a 1A, 1B situation where you're only playing 35 games, there's just not enough there for me to say, okay, yeah.
But 35 games is still, like, a lot of goaltenders only play 35 games. I mean, he also was injured, so you could say, he became the starter through the year, and then... Like it's a meteoric rise, right? Like he was playing in the minors, and then he gets called up, and then he starts, and he gets hurt, and if he comes back and he does really well coming back, plays another 20 games, and you're sitting here and he's won 22 games as a rookie. I feel like maybe he's in he wouldn't win it, but could he be in that top 3? Maybe.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be towards the top, if not at the top, for a lot of statistical categories as a goaltender. But
from a rookie perspective, he is.
Sure,
he's got the best save percentage. He's got, goals against doesn't really matter a whole lot, but the save percentage pretty high. And then you got the wins. 8 wins out of 15 games, not bad.
Yeah, no, not bad at all. But I think, again, for me, you just have to be towards the top or at the top of a lot of statistical categories, even out of the veteran goaltenders, just to garner a lot of consideration, or at least, like I said, again, be that clear cut, number one. Like, before we had, Jimmy Howard, who to me, again, I think he probably should have got the Calder over Tyler Myers at the time, but Jimmy Howard was obviously the number one in Detroit at the time, and so again, that's what I want out of.
But it was also a time where number ones were clearly defined, and I would say that absolutely. For the most part, a lot of teams' number ones are not clearly defined that way. At least the Leafs aren't.
Well, no.
The Leafs are crossing their fingers that Wall can come back and be the number one, I think, or that Samsonov gets out of his head. Okay, let's move on from the Rookie of the Year award and go to. Why don't we do the Norris? Top defenseman. There's probably a few options, but who'd you end up going with?
Yeah, you're more than right. There are quite a few options there at the top. I think there's a couple familiar names, but a couple dark horses up there now towards the top as far as production is concerned. But for me, I just like I've seen so much as far as improvement on the defensive side of the game that it was hard for me with him being at the top of the league as far as point production among defensemen. It was too hard to leave him off. And for me, it's Quinn Hughes, just because, again, he's playing far better on both sides of the puck than a guy like Cale Makar, who, a lot of people are going to look at and say, oh, well, his points per game is better. But to me, Quinn Hughes is playing a better defensive game. And maybe that is because Philip Hronek, but you know what? Hey, that's, Cale Makar's got Devin Taves. So
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. Every good defenseman has another defenseman playing nearby. Every good defenseman. Or they have fantastic forwards, they're on a really good power play. I think to me the difference is I'm going to weigh 5-on-5 play much heavier, especially for the Norris. Like, okay, great, you're a defenseman who scores a lot on the power play. And we know both these guys contribute on the power play, and we know that Makar, he's just a power play monster. Quinn Hughes is leading all defensemen not only in points, leads the league in plus minus, but he is blowing away all defensemen in 5-on-5 points. He's got 34 5-on-5 points. The next highest is Philip Hronek, his line mate, and then it's Chris Letang at 24 points. I think that tells the whole story. I mean, this guy isn't just putting up points when his team's up a man. He is fantastic when it's 5-on-5, and that is also indicative of future playoff success to me. You need that defenseman, and that's huge. So yeah, all right. Well, not much of an argument here. Quinn Hughes wins that Vezina or the Norris, and I suspect, barring any injuries, that he just keeps on racking up those totals and cementing his place in that. Where shall we go next? Should we maybe let's go to some of the, because we've got, I guess we've got the Hart Trophy, we've got like Ted Lindsay and Lester Pearson, which are basically the same thing. Player MVP and then most outstanding player. There's those, but they're the same thing. Why did I do that? Well, that's AI. AI was tricking me. AI tricked me. See, there you go. I actually was like, oh yeah, the Lester B. Pearson. That's the one voted on by the players. Oh yeah, so is the Ted Lindsay Award. Can AI? I'm never trusting you again. Why don't we do some of these, some of our other trophies that we've made up? The Justin Baker Most Disappointing Award.
Yeah, most disappointing. For me right now, it's Trevor Zegras.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good call.
Yeah, and what's disappointing now is we're actually, ever since the Drysdale Cochier trade, or we're hearing his name pop up in trade speculation, and I've always been a big believer where there's smoke, there's fire. So there probably is a little bit of truth behind this, because a lot of teams will look at a guy like Zegras and say, cool, this was a guy who the last two seasons was doing 60 plus points on average. And at $5.5 million AAV, this would be a bomb to get a top-line left winger at that kind of a price. Now, when you look at, unfortunately, Trevor Zegras' production for this year, it's been way down, and not in a good way. So, again, he's, right now, 20 games, can't stay healthy, but in those 20 games, he's only managed to put up 7 points. And that's just not good enough for a top-line winger and a guy who's supposed to be a franchise cornerstone. So, given his production the last couple seasons and where I expected him to go this season, to me, he's been the most disappointing player, I think, so far.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great pick. I don't think Anaheim's probably ready to give up on Trevor Zegras, especially since he did just sign a new deal and whatnot. So I don't think that they would just ship him off.
And I wouldn't either.
Because he's having a bad season. You gotta. It's difficult because Anaheim they're not good. So I mean that can also take its toll, and sometimes there are players that just really struggle in that environment where like you've been playing for several years and you've never been competitive. I mean that's got to weigh on you too, as somebody who like desperately wants to win, and you're not in that position, and that you're not going to be, at least this year. Some help coming next year, but still, there's no guarantee next year either. So I think that coupled with injuries, it's been a rough season for him. But I'm sure that they're willing to give him another opportunity next year to come back and prove that he's not a 15-point player, which is the hope.
Yeah.
I went a couple different directions. Actually, I have two for this one. I have a forward and a defenseman. Even though he is, he's still putting up some points. I think Erik Karlsson is probably the most disappointing player in the league because he was supposed to make the biggest impact of any player that moved teams last year. And after, breaking records and 100-point season, this and that, he goes to Pittsburgh. And I don't think anyone expected him to get 100 points, but I think they expected that he would be able to contribute and become a part of this group. And it's almost like it's Erik Karlsson, and then there's the Penguins over there. And they're still really struggling to kind of find their rhythm. Maybe it's some of the Penguins just aren't as good as they hoped they would be, as Kyle Dubas hoped that they would be. And it's just been very disappointing after the trade and all the hype coming out that Pittsburgh is as bad as they are. And I think that you can look at that trade as going, I mean, this trade didn't help them. It actually hurt them. And the other one I have is Jonathan Huberdeau. We talked a lot about, all right, we're willing to give him a pass. The Darryl Sutter era is over. You didn't get along with him. That's fair. We get it. Now go out and be the Huberdeau that we expect. He still only has like 21 points in the beginning of the season, first half of the season. And for a $10.5 million guy to be putting up 40 points is a freaking joke. And,
that's brutal.
Well, Zegras, yeah, it's really disappointing that he's having a bad season. At least he's been hurt, and he's on a garbage team, and he's young. Like, this is only his third year in the league. There's some things that can happen, and I think I'm sure he'll figure it out. This is much more concerning. Jonathan Huberdeau has been the model of consistency. Like, he's always been a really good 70-point guy. Yeah, he had his crazy year in his contract year. That's fine, but this is really concerning that he's playing so poorly in Calgary. He just can't seem to find his place there and has this monster contract, this albatross that, Zegras is signed for another 2 years after this year. If he pans out to kind of be garbage, I mean, you're still disappointed, but like you can dump him. Huberdeau's going nowhere. You gotta live with this motherfucker for a while. So I think it's very concerning and it's very disappointing because if he could just be at that typical Huberdeau production of 70 points, I think Calgary would be in a really good place. It would probably mean that they're sitting at least much closer to a playoff spot if he was playing that way. But instead, your $10.5 million guy is basically a third-line player now. A lot of teams have surpassed the Calgary Flames. They find themselves third to last in the Pacific, and it's just been a rough go. And I think you don't have to look further than Huberdeau as to why they're struggling.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, his season could end up getting much, much, much worse very quickly because we're less than 2 months away from the deadline. And his centerman, Elias Lindholm, could potentially get shipped out. And so if he's stuck playing with a guy like, Backlund, no offense to Backlund, but...
a guy like him.
I mean, Huberdeau's going to have...
Character, Josh.
I mean, he's not going to have a line mate to dish the puck to or to dish to him. So, that could go south for him really quick.
Yep. Who would you rather have, Jonathan Huberdeau or Johnny Gaudreau?
Oh, I'd probably rather have Gaudreau.
I think so
because he's still younger and
at least he's on a team that's like kind of supposed to be bad, so you can he's been playing better. But anyways, let's go most improved. Who is your most improved player in the National Hockey League this year?
Yeah, I kind of went out on a limb and try not to go for like a superstar or anybody like that, but I've got Blake Coleman sticking in Calgary, speaking of.
Okay. Talk to me about it. Why?
Yeah, so last year, I mean, he's been a perennial 30-point guy, right? This has been who he is. He's usually on a third line somewhere giving you depth scoring, maybe chipping in 15 goals, but This guy this season he's quietly leading Calgary in scoring, doing it on a bad team at a +19 rate. So clearly he's also playing responsible, and he's doing it, giving you shorthanded points, power play points. He's giving you a little bit of everything. Granted, I mean, not a lot of power play points, only one, but still 4 shorthanded goals so far this season and 32 points in 41 games. He's going to quickly surpass all his career highs. Now, the only thing that I could see with this guy maybe coming back down a little bit is right now his shooting percentage is at 17%, where he's traditionally a 10% guy. But yeah, even if it stays relatively, 13, 15%, he'll easily, hit that 50, 60 point mark and almost double, his typical output every single season for a team that, really could use some depth scoring. They're getting it from a guy like this.
Yeah. All right. It's a good pick. And I mean, and Blake Coleman is no slouch, but he definitely is not known for somebody who is going to put up big points. Not relied upon for his offense in that respect. My most improved player is a guy whose career high goals of 29 happened in his rookie season. And I think he really, the last 6 years, everybody's been hoping that he could be that player again. Career high 56 points. And thus far, 25 goals and 44 points. And he's a career best +19. He only has one season in his entire career where he was a positive in the plus-minus. And that's Brock Besser for the Vancouver Canucks.
Love it.
There's no player to me that is having a greater impact on his team where the previous year or years, he was more or less like a weight. When you have a guy like Brock Besser who clearly can score, like there's some scoring ability there. I mean, he's got 25 goals in 41 games. There's the ability, but it was almost like trying to pull teeth just to put him in the right situation. And so then you're trying so hard to make it work that it's hurting the rest of the team. And he's finally found that groove. And I mean, this goes for so many players on the Vancouver Canucks. They finally found that groove. And maybe it's Philip Roenick. It's the Roenick effect. And I mean, yes, 22.1% shooting. I mean, that's unsustainable. He's not going to I don't think he's going to end the year with 50 goals, but he's going to score 30 for the first time in his career. And he's going to probably have 70 points by the end of the year, maybe 80. And to me, that is a guy who was supposed to be traded last year, supposed to be traded in the deadline, was probably going to get traded sometime this year, is now a very important piece on the Vancouver Canucks to them winning in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I love it.
Well, thanks.
Hard to argue with it.
Biggest surprise? Who's your biggest surprise?
Yeah, to be quite honest, I actually picked a team. I didn't pick a player for this one.
That's fine. That's fine. I picked a player, so
okay,
we'll go player team. Who's your most surprising team?
The Ottawa Senators. Not to go negative with it, but I'm
going to go negative with it.
But I'm gonna. So
gotta.
I mean, again, the expectations, we've talked about it on multiple shows here, just coming into this year. And right now, you look at them in the Eastern Conference, and they're dead last. And not only are they dead last, but they're dead last by a lot. Right now, they're 7 points behind Columbus. Granted, they've got 6 games at hand, but I mean, their winning percentage is lower than anybody else. So there's a good reason for that. And they can't score goals. They can't keep the puck out of their net. And there's just nothing to like about this team when you expected this team to push for a playoff spot coming in. And I mean, right now too, they bring in Jacques Martin behind the bench, and they're supposed to be better defensively, but man, their last game was atrocious. And I don't even want to get into that, but it just hasn't really worked out very well for this team. Yeah, something's got to pop there. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. That's a good pick. Ottawa's they're very disappointing as well, but it has been a surprise that they've been so bad. I went positive because I'm a positive guy, like you negative, Justin. My biggest surprise, somebody who is kind of, I mean, they've danced around the idea of being a solid NHL player. A very good NHL player, but never quite was able to put it all together because of injuries and whatnot. But
I'm going to say Valerie Nichushkin, who has been fantastic for Colorado. He's provided that top 6 scoring depth beyond Rantanen and McKinnon. They needed somebody to step up to essentially take the place of Landeskog, and in terms of point production, and he's scored goals. I mean, he's got 22 goals in 40 games. His career high is 25 goals. His career high is 52 points, and he is set to shatter all of those. He's playing more minutes than he ever has in his career, and last year he did have a good season. 47 points in 53 games. He had 17 goals. Season cut short because of injuries, and so you were seeing the potential for this. But he's really putting it together this year, and without him, I think Colorado is in a world of trouble. And he's shooting the puck more. I know, his shooting percentage is way up. 17.2% career, almost basically 11% shooter, but he's shooting the puck a ton. His career high was 180 shots, and he's at 128. So it should shatter pretty much every record that he has. And that's a good sign for the Avalanche. But to me, the biggest surprise is him just being beyond just a guy who's putting up some points because he has good players around him. He has been a fantastic revelation for them. They needed someone in the wake of other players that they've lost and other injuries. They needed, especially Landeskog, they needed him to step up, and he has.
I like the pick.
All right. Okay, before we get to our MVP things, it is time for our annual least likely to score award, and this is not an award you want to get. That's for sure. At this point, there's quite a few guys who haven't scored, but in terms of players who have played more than 25 games, I think there's only 4 or 5 total forwards. I just take defensemen out of this because it's not really fair. There's always going to be defensemen who don't score goals. They don't get the opportunity to do it. But when you're a forward, you're on the ice for any length of time. Over the course of 60 plus games, you should be able to score 1 goal. Who do you have as the least likely to score a goal through the rest of the season?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much that I think he's not going to score a goal, but that I'm hoping he doesn't score a goal. I picked Connor Brown.
Okay, I did too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a 2-time 20-goal scorer, a guy who came in that was expected to provide some good second or third line depth scoring for this team, and it really hasn't panned out. And
he's buddies with McDavid, is supposed to be this cool connection.
Yeah. But I mean, granted, he's only signed for this year, so at least Edmonton isn't on the hook for a long contract or anything like that. But I just think, I think he's capable of scoring a goal, and I think he probably will at some point, considering he's on a second line right now. But oh man, it's just been rough. 30 games.
It would be the funny one to happen. Not funny for him, but just in general, one of those weird statistics. Hey, he never scored a goal. That'd be really weird. Now he's probably in the nicest way possible the person that I want to not score a goal because it would be funny. But I truly think the least likely person to score is Nicolas Deslauriers. He's played 39 games. He's got 3 assists. And it certainly does not look like he's going to score a goal for the Philadelphia Flyers anytime soon. So, he's my pick. I mean, let's be honest, he's kind of there to be, he's a defensive guy. He's only playing $850 a game. So 54% of his faceoffs in the offensive zone. So, relatively half, but really not playing very much at all. And he scored 12 goals in 211 games. That was for Buffalo. Let's see. Total 50 goals in 625 games. The last time he scored more than 10 goals in a season, it happened once for the Montreal Canadiens in 17-18. Oh, he scored 6 goals last year in 80 games. So
yipes.
Yeah, so he's my pick. We'll see. We're going toe to toe. Whoever scores a goal first loses. Okay, let's do our MVPs. I mean, Ted Lindsay, Hart Memorial. I picked two different people for them.
Did you? Okay.
Because I can.
Because
I can. I picked. Yeah. You pick. You tell me who you have. You have the same person then for both of them.
Yeah, I've got the same guy for both of them.
All right, let's hear it.
I think it's Nathan MacKinnon.
All right.
Yeah,
tell me why.
He's never won either one of them, so I think he's due.
It's because he's garbage. Garbage. Like the third best player in the league. Garbage.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Connor McDavid's had plenty of these trophies, and I think, especially if Edmonton doesn't get in, which I'm still 50-50 on.
No,
still get in the playoffs.
50-50?
I'm 50-50 on it still. Yeah, but regardless, if you think Edmonton's getting in or not, they're not going to probably do any better than a wild card spot, but still, I mean, listen, Connor McDavid's going to get plenty more trophies. Let's just give this to Nathan MacKinnon because he's having a phenomenal season, and he's it's like that. It's like when a guy wins an Oscar, right? And you're like, was that his best movie ever?
Finally.
No, but he's owed one. So
yeah.
For me, this is the time to give Nathan MacKinnon one because Connor McDavid isn't going to run away, have a 50-point lead on everybody else in the league. So.
Until he does.
Until he does.
Okay, funny enough, I picked two different people, and neither one of them is Nathan MacKinnon. Although he certainly is a good consideration. My Ted Lindsay Award, as voted by the players, is actually Nikita Kucherov, who will win this trophy if Tampa Bay makes the playoffs, and he leads the league in points. How can you not give it to him if that happens? Which all this kind of is based on the other things that I said about Kucherov and the Art Ross and all that. He's on a team that doesn't have the depth, and he's doing a lot of it himself. And like the franchise's most loved player is rumored to be like not re-signing. So that's something that I'm sure is weighing as well. And as far as it being the first half, especially. Without Kucherov, Tampa Bay is nowhere close to the playoffs, and I think that without MacKinnon, I think that the Avalanche are still really good. I think they're still a playoff team even without MacKinnon. Without Kucherov, I think that Tampa Bay just dwindles away, and for that reason, for the first half, I think that Nikita Kucherov is my Ted Lindsay Award winner, and I think has a solid chance to take it in the end. However, the Hart Trophy, because it's voted on by writers, I think this year, if things keep going the way that it's going, I have a Vezina Trophy winner doubling up with the Hart Memorial Trophy, and that's Connor Hellebuyck.
Oh.
First goalie to win the MVP in a long time. I think since Jose Theodore, right?
I wouldn't hate it, though. Or Carey Price.
Right, Carey Price. Yep. Highest scorer for the Jets, Scheifele with 41 points. He's 30th in the league. So, I mean, he's just so important to this team. And if they finish anywhere close to where they are right now, I feel like he's the most important player in the league. Because without him, they might not even be in the playoffs. And then that's what's so unbelievable about the way he's playing. Got to give him the Hart, at least for the first half of the season. There's no one more important than Connor Hellebuyck.
Boy, and what I will say,
can't believe I just gave a goalie the Hart.
I don't hate it though. I love the pick just because, again, how well he's playing and how much this team, just relies on him, right? Because you're doing this without Kyle Connor, so your team's not scoring as many goals as maybe they should be, or other teams in the league are. You need strong goaltending even more, but. So here's the other thing. When you look at it, Laurent Brossoit is playing very, very well, but he's only playing 1 out of every 4 games. And so in a league where we rely so heavily on a 1A, 1B now, Connor Hellebuyck's still going to play 55, 60 games. Yep. And I don't see these numbers really dipping that much. And then on top of that, I think we're going to have a very, very close point race at the end of the season where I think Nathan MacKinnon, Kucherov, even Connor McDavid, and maybe even, Pasternak, if they can get themselves a decent center before, the deadline. Those guys are going to be all in the mix, within like 5 or 6 points of each other, I feel like. So it would be easy for, writers to pull votes away from other guys, and then Connor Hellebuyck could easily sneak by with this one.
There we go. That's what we need. Hellebuyck for the heart, which would just be the culmination of like years of rooting for Hellebuyck on this podcast.
Love it.
Overtime Hellebuyck talk is what we could it'll be our little tagline underneath. All right, well, there is your 2023-24 mid-season awards. Let us know what you think of our awards, or if you've got some different thoughts, hit us on Twitter, on Instagram, at OT Hockey Talk. Justin, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just want to let the listeners know just to get ready for some YouTube action here soon.
Yeah, we're going video. Oh, if you want to see our ugly mugs, you can. Our next show, you get to see them. Can't wait.
Should I just wear a goalie mask for the first time? Just the whole
you 100% should. Just be like Wilson in Home Improvement, where you only show the top half of your face.
Good.
Like have just like a red post, the crossbar is across your face the whole time. That'd be great. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Enjoy the hockey for the weekend. Talk to you later.